On April 1st, 2014, an emergency call was placed from deep within the Panama jungle. And then another, and then another. 77 desperate attempts to reach 911. When authorities traced the signal, what they discovered would launch one of the most perplexing investigations in Panama's history. But more importantly, what they found continues to haunt investigators and readers of this story to this day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Mystery Files. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you don't mind, just hit that like button right now. I shouldn't have even asked it, but I did because I'm bringing in a new year and I want to bring you guys with me for this exciting ride into 2025. Who's with me? Okay, so to start things off with a bang, I got a mysterious hiking disappearance that you don't want to miss. So as of now, without any further ado, it's time to slip into a mind that's not our own. Let's go. So Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon were recent Dutch college graduates, and they were just eager for this kind of fresh start. And Kris was a creative and open-minded 21-year-old, and she had just completed her studies in cultural anthropology. Lisanne, who was 22 years old, was a determined and optimistic graduate with a degree in applied sciences. And after saving for 6 months all the money that they possibly could, these roommates planned a 6-week getaway trip to Panama. A blend of, adventure and volunteering with the children in the small town of Boquete. So they ended up arriving on March 15th, 2014. Mostly they wanted to immerse themselves into the culture and explore these lush landscapes of Central America. But by April 1st, and this is not a joke, just 3 weeks into their journey, the excitement of exploration took a very dark turn. So that morning, it started off when Kris and Lisanne left their host family with their dog, eager to hike the clouded forest of the Baru volcano. And witnesses actually later spotted the girls having lunch with these 2 Dutchmen before heading off onto their trail. And by all accounts, this hike began with a lot of optimism. Photos from Lisanne's camera captured their smiles against these breathtaking views of the jungle and the distant mountains behind. I mean, the two were clearly enjoying their adventure. But then as the hours kept passing by, something went terribly wrong. And you could say the dread started by evening, when the dog ended up returning to the host family alone, not with the 2 girls. So their host family concern, grew into panic when the girls didn't return by nightfall. And that's when calls to their phones went unanswered. And the host family then contacted the authorities, knowing that the unforgiving jungle would swallow anyone whole that was unprepared. And now the girls' phones actually revealed a chilling timeline itself. Beginning at 4:39 p.m. on April 1st, Kris and Lisanne made their first attempt to call emergency services. But they were deep in the jungle where, call reception was spotty at best. Most likely you're not going to get anything through. And of course, their call did not go through. So they tried again, and again, and again. And over the next 5 days, 77 calls were made to 911 or 112, which was the Dutch emergency number. I mean, think about this. Each failed attempt must have just added to their growing fear and desperation in whatever circumstance they found themselves in. But then on April 6th, something extremely strange happened. Kris's phone was turned on for a second, but the wrong PIN number was entered. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. And it ended up preventing access to the phone. But then the next day, the correct PIN was entered. But by then, it was too late. The phone's battery was critically low and the activity ceased entirely after that. So who had entered this incorrect code? Was it Kris herself, disorientated or maybe even injured? But you would think that she might have handed the phone to Lisanne at that point and say, here's my number, type it in, I fell, something's wrong with me, or had someone else try to use her phone. And the jungle, already perilous during the day, became a nightmarish trap after sundown. The dense foliage blocked out even the moonlight, leaving Kris and Lisanne in this total darkness. So their camera that they had on them became their only source of light. So over 90 photos were taken between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. on April 8th. And some images, showed the trail going ahead, illuminated by the flash, but others appeared to capture these random objects such as these rocks and twigs and pieces of their belongings. Very frustratingly weird. And at this point, the psychological toll must have just been overwhelming. The girls likely battled exhaustion, hunger, and the constant fear of predators in the jungle, whether human or animal. Not to mention the jungle's symphony of sounds, the rustling leaves and distant howls. It would have heightened their paranoia and adrenaline at all times. Each photo that we could see felt like a silent scream into the void. Were they trying to find their way, signal for help, or was something following them? Because now, I really want you to listen to this. Weeks later, Lisanne's backpack was discovered by a local woman near a riverbank. And inside it was $83 in American cash. And then there were 2 bras, a passport, the camera that I've been talking about, and both of the girls' phones. And strangely, the backpack showed no signs of damage or wear, despite being found in the harsh jungle environment. So investigators at this point, they scoured the camera for answers, and they uncovered the chilling timeline of their ordeal. And the photos offered just these fragments of their journey, but it raised even more questions than answers. Authorities initially believed that the girls had fallen victim to the jungle itself. A tragic accident involving maybe a slip from a steep ravine or a monkey bridge during a big storm. But as more and more evidence emerged, their theory began to crumble. You see, their photos hinted at these deliberate actions taken. Some experts suggested that Lisanne was documenting Kris's injuries to aid rescuers. And others believed that the girls used the flash to signal for help or to deter animals or predators around them. Because think about it, even though the night would have been terrifying in the jungle, they must have survived without those camera flashes for at least the few first days, so this is really a head scratcher. But there were also now darker theories, whispers of foul play. The discovery of Kris's neatly folded jean shorts several kilometers away from Lisanne's backpack just added to suspicion. And I know I say this a lot, but why? In strange circumstances, whether it's the Diatla Pass, the Kamar Daban incident, the Christine Skubish one that I did on What Lurks Beneath. If you haven't seen that, go check out our collab. But it always has to do with these neatly folded clothes right to the left or right of a mystery. Does anybody know why? Okay, but months after their disappearance, search teams found these human remains along the banks of the Calabar River. And there was a boot that contained a foot in it. A partial pelvis and 33 scattered bones were then recovered. And then, sadly, DNA testing confirmed that the remains belonged to Kris and Lisanne. But strangely, the bones themselves told conflicting stories. Kris's remains appeared unnaturally bleached, as if exposed to chemicals, while Lisanne showed more typical decomposition. There were no signs of animal predation or scratches on the bones, a mystery that baffled the forensic experts there. And if that isn't enough, adding to the mystery, another university student disappeared in 2017, 3 years later, on a trail just 30 miles from where Kris and Lisanne were last seen. And her body was discovered days later, and it showed clear signs of foul play. And authorities then arrested 8 individuals in connection with her murder. But, wouldn't you know, for some reason, no charges were filed. Some began to speculate that a predator, human or otherwise, might have been stalking that region, using the dense jungle as cover. These girls seem to have gone down maybe a wrong path or a hidden path that hopefully nobody else finds themselves going down. I mean, could Kris and Lisanne have encountered someone dangerous during their hike? Or were they victims of the unforgiving wilderness? To this day, the fate of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon remains one of the most perplexing mysteries of modern times. Their story is a chilling reminder of how quickly adventure can turn into tragedy, and how the truth can remain just out of reach, swallowed by the jungle itself. Every clue, every photo, every unanswered question leaves us haunted, wondering what truly happened in the Panama wilderness. Speaking of the wilderness, if you want to watch a story of something that definitely happened in the wilderness but should not have, well, make sure to click right here. Also, if you made it this far in the video, make sure to check out my Patreon and my podcast. They are both in the description as well. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.